All of the archive screenings in the wild are free thanks to a gift from an anonymous donor. We're grateful to them for their support. This series and the screening has been made possible with support from the Unai Initiative at UCLA for Globalizing Japanese Humanities. I want to give a special thanks to Unai Initiative Director Michael Emmerich for his continued commitment to archive programming. I also want to thank Kathy Acker and Kate Park, who really got the ball rolling on this idea for this whole series back in 2023. So let's get a round of applause for all those folks right now. So thank you all for coming out to the second night in our series celebrating the 30th anniversary of Giant Robot, the magazine, the store, and everything it has come to be and mean to all of us over the years. We got a lot of great shows coming up between now and November 17th. A lot of amazing guests. Michael Arias will be here with Tech on Concrete next Friday. We're going to have Daniel Wu is going to be here for our closing night on November 17th. A lot of other guests in between, so please check our webpage for additional information. I want to say that it was an honor and a pleasure for myself and archive television curator Mark Quigley to work on this series with Giant Robot founder Eric Nakamura. I want to give Eric a big thanks for all the time and intention that he put into this series. So with the first zine-style photocopied issue of Giant Robot, came out in 1994. It ran 66 pages, I think thereabouts, 16 of which, by far the longest article, was devoted to legendary underground filmmaker Jon Moritsugu. Since the mid-1980s, Moritsugu had been taking apart American cultural pretensions and cliches in a series of punk-fueled cinematic assaults, including Lil Debbie Snack Whore of New York City, Der Elvis, and Sleazy Rider. In 1990, his feature film My Degeneration, about an all-girl punk band, premiered at the Sundance Film Festival. On the occasion of his interview in Giant Robot, Jon had just completed Terminal USA and was finishing production on his fourth feature, Mod Fuck Explosion. Jon's films, including Fame Horse, Scumrock, and Pig Death Machine, have played worldwide at festivals including Sundance, Cannes, Berlin, Toronto, Rotterdam, Venice, the New York Underground Film Festival, and the Chicago Underground Film Festival, which awarded him its Lifetime Achievement Award in 2013. His films have also screened at museums including MoMA, the Guggenheim, and the Whitney. We are absolutely thrilled. I can't tell you how long I've been a fan of Jon, and I'm just absolutely thrilled that Eric Nakamura and Jon Moritsugu are here with us tonight. So let's give them a round of applause first. So we're going to begin tonight with the screening of Terminal USA, which will be followed immediately by a Q&A with Eric and Jon. Then we'll have a 10-minute intermission, and we'll follow that with Greg Araki's haunting 2004 feature starring Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Mysterious Skin. So for now, please help me welcome to the stage Eric Nakamura.
Thanks so much for coming out. I appreciate it. And I'm really happy to have Jon out here from Hawaii. So again, this man was one of the first interviews I conducted, and I don't think I knew what to do about that. It was really long, and I don't think anything got edited out. But it was just one of those things where he had this punk rockness, but it just had this different vibe. It was just a crazy punk rockness to it. And I was just one of those things where I was like, okay, this whole thing has to stay, and it becomes a mainstay of issue number 1 of Giant Robot. It's a part of how it all begins. And so I always thank you for that. You know, it's like a big part of like my career and beginning. I didn't quite understand everything at the time, or nothing even, but understanding Jon and meeting him made me kind of think this is all doable, and that punk rockness can prevail and it can pave the way for our future. So in that way, thank you. Yeah. So yeah, and I want to introduce you to Jon, who's here from Hawaii.
Hi, everybody. Good evening. I guess we seem to have a theme tonight. It seems to be punk rock. In Terminal USA, I think this whole movie was just sort of the whole ontology of the movie is punk rock. Everything from how it got started, how I got the money, to the production, to pissing off executives, to just like sort of like burning down my career with this picture. It was very punk rock. And looking back on this movie, I sort of see every step of it being made as almost like one joke after another. And just as an example, I mean, I got the money. I applied for the grant. I got the money, but I basically, when filling out the application, I treated it as a joke. I didn't spend any time doing it. I spent about an hour. It really was a piece of shit I submitted, and I got the money, honestly. And I later talked to the committee. I said, why did you give me the money? Because I submitted a piece of shit to you. And they said, your piece of shit was the only one out of the 1,000 applications that made us laugh out loud. So that was my moment. I was like, wow, if you make the committee laugh, maybe you can get the money. And I don't know, it seemed like the whole project was started on the premise of a prank or a punk or a joke. And it sort of continued through the whole life of the project, which is why it's such a delightful movie to me. I mean, I just look back on it and I just laugh. But long story short, we're going to watch this movie on this amazing screen in this amazing theater, which I'm calling the best theater in Los Angeles. It's maybe arguably the best, but I'm really excited to see it. AGFA did the 2K transfers, and we tweaked the movie and made it look really good. Blah blah blah. But thanks for making it out. Glad to be out. I haven't been out in a while. Good to be off the rock called Hawaii, and good to be here in LA with all of you beautiful people. Thank you. All right.
When I said that John's films had played worldwide, that was actually an inside joke because in the interview he says in the grant application it says wherever your films played. He just wrote worldwide, and that was it. So you are definitely going to want to stick around for the Q&A. All right, so please turn off all cell phones and electronic devices and enjoy Terminal USA. Thank you. Well, please help me welcome to the stage Eric Nakamura and Jon Moritsugu.
No socks.
Where to start? Let's start before the beginning, I think, which is so the first issue of Giant Robot came out in 1994, which had your article, but you had met before that. You had met like a few years before that, and how did you guys meet?
So I was going to San Francisco State for one semester after going to Santa Monica College. I went to Santa Monica College for a while, and then while I was at SF State, I got an internship at NATA, which is the North American Asian
American Telecommunications
Association, right? So it's like this Asian American group, and
But their mission was like to promote like
Asian American
films and
Yeah.
productions, right?
Yeah, so I was basically a volunteer, and John and Greg Araki did a talk, like a tandem talk at their office in the end, right? It was like a space in their office, and I was a photographer. I volunteered as a photographer. I took pictures. That's where I met John and Greg.
Yeah, and I remember after the gig, I mean, Greg and I did like one of these like low budget punk rock filmmaking workshops or something, and I remember giving you a ride home to like the Sunset District or something, and that's when we just started talking, on the ride home, and that's when I think we really first met.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty.
I don't remember this ride home at all, but okay. Thanks for the ride.
Well, you were on drugs, right?
Thanks for the ride.
Yeah,
It's
you're
amazing.
welcome. Yeah, so we stayed in touch, and then Eric had this idea for Giant Robot.
Yeah, I saw some of your other films. I saw this one, and I just thought, oh my gosh, this is the person to interview. Like this is like all of Asian American one. You just saw a movie. Yeah, what made you write the great Asian American family story?
Well, I'm a family type of guy. You see, no, they had a theme to the application process. So the theme was, families, and basically what they wanted to do was pick 7 filmmakers to create works that would sort of blow open the idea of what a family is. So you had, filmmakers making stories about gay families, or mine about an Asian American family, stuff that wasn't like the mainstream. One of the people who got one of these awards was Todd Haynes. I got one, 5 other people. But
And the They is the independent television service.
yeah, ITVS.
ITVS and the just to frame it. So and the ultimate goal was to get it on PBS.
PBS, yeah. ITVS is taxpayer money, and there's sort of a subset of PBS, but they basically were like, yeah, we want to give 7 filmmakers budgets, make some TV shows, and then get this crazy stuff on TV. And they certainly did. I mean, Terminal USA played in like 250 different cities, but it was also sort of fucked up because Los Angeles didn't play it. There's a woman here running the PBS thing, and she honestly kept promising she would play it, but she kept preempting it, and it was a political thing. Same thing happened in San Francisco. They did not play it. It was a weird time in the 90s where the government was coming under a lot of pressure from the conservatives, like you're funding degenerate artwork, you're funding too much fucked up shit. And so all these like big cities got a little bit afraid of playing this movie. So LA never ran it, San Francisco never ran it, but it played in 250 other cities all over America.
Did ITVS like it? And did, yeah.
They were really screwed up because, I mean, I told you how I got the money and the application process, all that stuff. And it was a pretty radical script. I mean, I made it to the semifinal round, and they gave me 10 grand to write to make this into a script in 2 weeks. And I was working in a record store, so I was like, I have 10 grand, I'm getting paid to write. Fuck this job. So I quit the job, and I was like, I'm a full-time writer, at least for 2 weeks. And I first started the script really like a script 101. I'm going to do this the legit way. And then I thought, wow, I've made it this far. I've made $10,000 just being a fuck up and being a punk. So I said, I should certainly continue this modus operandi. So I basically stayed up for 50 hours nonstop, hammered out a rough draft of the script, and that's what I mailed in. It had loose ends, characters who disappeared, stuff like that. But I just was like, this is how I'm going to do it. They'll get an idea. Sent it in, and then I got the money. And then, years later, they said it was the only script that made them laugh. And so I thought that was one of those moments of brilliance where I was like, the world actually makes sense to me. I fit in. This is cool.
You also said something very punk rock in the interview where you were like, you were making, this was the biggest budget you had worked with before, and you were like, basically, you discovered trial by fire that having more money is more of a pain in the ass than having no money.
Yeah,
Can you talk a little bit about the production and what that budget meant in terms of how it changed your workflow?
Man, it was weird because I had made a feature for $10,000, another one for $5,000, and then I was working on another for maybe 25 grand, and suddenly I got $360,000 in, and I thought, now I have a budget 10 times greater, so it's going to be 10 times better a movie, and it really wasn't. We were sort of in that weird gray zone where we had enough money to do stuff, but not enough to do it right, or just to, it just was a lack. We had to deal with unions and SAG and all this stuff, and I remember in the first 1 week we spent $80,000 just incorporating, setting up an office, renting the warehouse space, and I was just like sort of flabbergasted, like, wow, we spent $80,000. We don't even have footage to show for this, and I could have made like 10 features with this. But it was a really hard project because, we had to pay for everything, and even good friends who had resources were sort of like, wow, you have money, I'm going to charge you to use my car, like Cool Valiant. A friend was like, all right, you want to use my car, you have to pay me $100, and everyone was sort of like trying to grab the money. It got a little weird.
Well, so let's talk a little bit about the film itself. I want to talk. Let's go through some of the characters. Ken Narasaki and Sharon Omi, who play the parents. For lack of a better word, they were coming from legitimate film and theater careers. I'm curious, what did they think of the script, and how did you talk with them?
All right. It was really hard to get them the script. They both were San Francisco actors, like really commercial, like. Ken was doing Budweiser commercials and, Shakespeare in the Park and stuff like that. Nothing edgy. Ken had been cast in a couple of movies, and it was really a fucked up experience for him. He was cast in one movie where in the middle of the shoot, the director and the producers were like, you're not Asian enough. And he already was playing like some Kung Fu Gardener or something. And they're like, you're not Asian enough? And he was like, what are you talking about? And they were like, well, you speak nice fluent English, you got to give that an accent. You can't be an Asian without an accent, a fucked up accent. So he was doing these like legit movie roles where they were just doing this racist shit to him, and he was sort of sick of it, so he wanted to bust out with something new. We had to go through their agent and management, and the agent did not want to give them the script. The agent read the script and was like, this is too outrageous, I'm not going to give it to them. Somehow we got the script behind the scenes, to the actors, and they loved it. So, they just jumped on and did the movie.
So back in the day, I actually saw Ken Narasaki in plays when I was at San Francisco State. I saw him in actual Asian American plays. So when I saw him in this movie, I'm like, whoa, this is a big change for this actor who's kind of in the Asian American acting scene to all of a sudden doing one of John's movies, which I thought was amazing. Then I would run into him on Sawtell, right? He actually was hanging out in Sawtell a bunch, and I would always bring up only this movie, and he was kind of like a little bit like he never embraced it at that time, but he was kind of like, yeah, okay, but I was like, you're amazing in there, I was just giving him encouragement.
It was a weird experience.
It was literally, he said that kind of stuff. Yeah. And, but I was always like praising him, going, you were amazing. What are you talking, like,
Yeah.
anyways.
Yeah, they were really, really great to work with. And another reason why I cast them is husband and wife acting team. I was like, I won't have to rehearse as much because they're going to just do that on their own at home. And they did.
Oh my God.
Really, Eric, he had a description of Terminal USA I just recently read. I think it was in the Giant Robot book. And he said, yeah, this movie turned out pretty well for Jon, but it definitely was like a very low effort project for you. You gave it like 30%. Or
I did?
Yeah, you said something and it was really funny, but it was totally true because, it was a really tiring movie to make. We were really stupid. We chose a location that was near a bus depot, and we didn't really scout it out. So it turned out that the bus depot was running all day, so we had to film pretty much from like sunset until sunrise, which is a really tough schedule. Yeah, so wow, what were we talking about?
Oh, what's it like playing the two? What's it like playing the two different characters?
Oh man, it was terrifying, and I hate acting. I'm not an actor, and I just did that to piss people off. With actors, there's sort of a dream role for every freaking actor out there, and it's to play twins, because with twins you can show your range. It's like, oh my God, you're a mean person and a cool person. You have this dynamic range as an actor. Actors love twins. It's like the dream role, and I was like, I'm not going to give this to any actors. I'm going to do it, and I'm just going to not really rehearse. I'm just going to sort of dial it in, and I'm going to just really piss people off. And I would walk around the movie set saying, yeah, I got the dream role. I'm not even an actor. And I'd say this in front of the actors and stuff, and I don't know why.
Did you pay yourself twice?
I actually did.
Awesome.
Yeah, I was working with Andrea Sperling, and she's a really great producer. So she was like, at a certain point, I was like, no, I don't want to get paid. And she's like, are you crazy? You have to get paid for everything you do. So I was like, all right, Andrew, I'm sticking with you. This is awesome. Really good business.
But talking about the kinds of stereotypical roles that Ken was playing, and I'm sure you Sharon had to deal with. So I'm very curious. The script came together really quick. The idea came together really quick. How much were you drawing on your own experience, having to just break out of these stereotypes that people? How much was that? How much was personal for you in this?
It's really personal. A lot of the dialogue is straight from my growing up, like that. Little speech, the dad is like, I'm a Chink, I'm a Jap, not a Chink, blah, blah, blah. That is what my mom said around the dinner table when I was growing up. It literally was word for word what she said. She was like, I can't believe someone mistook me for a Chinese woman today. And then she went off on that diatribe right there. So I just grabbed it word for word from mom. I was a kid too, and I was like, I love you, Mom, but something seems really weird about your conversation. This seems a little off and wrong, Mom. I don't know.
How did, I guess at that time, and I don't know if they've even seen it, but Greater Asian America, how did they accept this? Because I notice in Asian American cinema land, you're kind of ignored, I hate to say, and it's because I'm familiar with it.
Yeah, a lot of people have asked me, in general, did the world hate this project? Who hated it the most? What group? I would have to say Asian Americans, people in my team. No, it was really messed up because when I unveiled this movie, I would actually have fellow Asian American filmmakers coming up to me at the screening saying, why did you do that? Why didn't you make a documentary about your ancestors who came over? Why didn't you make something about, sugar cane? It was sort of like, you have ruined our dignity as a people with this project. I got a lot of flack from the Asian community, and people were offended. Mostly Asian Americans. It was really, I thought I would be heralded like the new, yellow Spike Lee, holy moly. He kicked the door in, or even blaxploitation stuff from the 60s, the Van Peebles, he kicked the door open, it was outrageous, it was shocking, it offered no solutions, but damn, it gave us the issues right, front burner on the table. And I honestly felt the Asian community would have my back and be like, holy moly, we have a radical filmmaker, we're trying to destroy racism, blah, blah, blah. But it was the opposite. I was absolutely shocked. There was no yellow brother sisterhood.
We liked you.
whatsoever. Well, not whatsoever.
Well,
We
that
liked
was-
you.
So
yeah, Eric,
I'm
too.
gonna-
The cool
sorry.
ones.
I'm
Sorry,
gonna-
it's just a scene.
I'm going to turn it over to the audience after another question, but this goes back to, so what did you think? What did you make of the Giant Robot project when Eric talked to you about it? And then as Giant Robot grew, like, how did you see yourself and your work in relation to the work that Eric and Martin were doing?
Ooh, that's a good ontological question. When Eric approached me, he was like, "I'm going to put out a magazine, a fanzine. I want to interview you for the first issue." And then he pitched me the idea. He said it's going to be like Asian American culture, music, books, cool stuff, art. And I remember telling Eric, I said, "First of all, I'll do this. I'm totally honored. I want to do the interview." But I remember looking at Eric just saying, "Don't do it, man. You're going to run out of material after an issue or two." I mean, I was so wrong, but I just was like, "Eric, there isn't much Asian stuff in the world. It just doesn't exist. You can't find it." And I even remember saying to Eric, like, "Why don't you just drop the Asian thing and just do a magazine about, like, do some music reviews and bands and cool interviews, but just drop that Asian part." And he was sticking to his guns, and I'm so happy that I was completely wrong.
Thanks.
Well, so what was your well, let's turn it over I'm sorry. Let me turn it over to the audience, get some questions from the audience. So we're going to bring a mic to you when I point to you, and then wait for the mic to get to you. So right there in the center. Right there, yeah.
Hello. I just want to make a comment first, but I really enjoy how you take like cultural context and like use absurdity to like filter them in a form of communication.
Thank you.
This is I feel like there's so much like content now, like just like ever, where you take like a feeling of like subjugation or like ill treatment, and you just like deliver it on a plate as it is.
Yeah.
But I feel like people feel those feelings so absurdly and so like viscerally. It's like much better, in my opinion, to take that feeling and blow it up to something so absurd than just to deliver it on a plate.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm not into this like plate serving issue where it's sort of like, here it is, you guys accept it and figure it out. I'm all for like making it outrageous and bigger than it is and blowing it up and making it a spectacle just to bring the issues to the forefront. You know, I mean, you can't deny after you see this, you can't deny that there are stereotypes about Asians, and this is what they are. I'm with you. I like art. I like, I guess, expression that's sort of more in my face, a little more extreme, you know. And it could be just coming from punk rock background music. That's the stuff I like, you know.
Another question from the audience?
One thing I wanted to mention
yeah, go
too. Oh, go ahead for the next question. But meanwhile, did you keep the sets at all? The wood. So, for example, the red Kazumi's room, that art, that graffiti in the background is by Barry McGee.
Priceless artwork.
I was going to say that.
Right?
I think
It's,
he's. Yeah.
if you had all that, it's worth more than your budget today.
If I had that artwork, I would be driving home to my fourth house in Malibu tonight, honestly.
So Barry McGee's had a solo exhibition here at the Hammer Museum, and the Hammer collects his work. I know that. And you had a whole...
It's outrageous. Here's another, just, my life is full of these fuck-ups and these pranks and they're just really big mistakes, and I love them all because they're just so funny, but out of these mistakes, I've sort of created an identity. It's sort of interesting.
But it's interesting because I was watching the film and I noticed the art decoration for Kazumi's room. I was like, actually, this film is really a microcosm of everything Giant Robot became. I mean,
right.
everything,
You're
music, music, movies, visual art. I mean, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it really
Even though
is.
you didn't think it was going to fly, you had everything in
It's
here
sort of like
to
all
begin
just
with.
sort of connects. I love it when life does it. It's a sign you're doing the right thing. But as far as that artwork, our production designer Jennifer, she was like scouring the streets. She was like, I want the bedrooms in this house to have graffiti on the walls. And so she found these two artists. Like, one was a horse. It was a woman named Reminisce. And then she was like, there's this weird artist named Twist who's going out tagging and doing these really cool pieces. And I saw it, like she took a picture of it or something, so I saw it. So she tracked down Twist, I don't know how. And this was even before he was known as Barry McGee. He just had his like Twist name. And she hunted him down, and he was like broke, struggling. And he's like, yeah, I'll do all those sets for $200. So, and he also was pretty funny because he was like, I'll only do them if I can come in after the set is closed so no one can see me doing it. I can be the only person there. Like, I never even met him. I would just show up at the set in the morning and look at the new work and get really stoked. So yeah, he created all these sets, and we were on a really tight schedule, so we had to turn that bedroom into another set, into another room. So we ended up like just getting primer and painting over all of Twist's artwork, the zillions of dollars worth of art, and then we splashed green paint on that, filmed something else, and to this day, I think about it, and it's like, yeah, we should have. I mean, there were 4-foot by 8-foot boards. I think he did 10 of them for us, so we were paying him $20 per piece, and we had 10 of them, and we painted them over, and I think it's really funny. I have all these great pictures and slides documenting this stuff, but again, I mean, there's so many. If I had the wrong mindset, I could just examine my life and just feel so bad about all this stuff, right? I mean, you would maybe, but I don't know. I at this point, I realized I wouldn't change any of it, and ultimately, it's like really entertaining and funny for me, and I still stand by some of these things. Most of these things I did, so I'm cool with it, but I don't have that 4,000 mouths.
Don't change the thing.
Well, no, it definitely still works. Any other questions from the audience? Another question? Oh, right here. Wait. There's a mic coming to you.
Hi. I was just wondering, because the way the characters deliver their lines is so strange and unnatural, and I was just wondering, like, if you remember what your direction was for the actors with that, or if they had some input in that, or what that process was like.
Absolutely. My idea was that I would take like I guess the concept behind this was taking like a whole season of a soap opera and compressing it into like 57 minutes or whatever. I mean, I remember as a kid watching soap operas, and I would be tuning into some show, and I would like forget about it for a couple weeks, then I go back and turn it on, and it's like, wow, they're still in the same room. It's like 10 minutes later. No, I was like, I mean, there are certain elements of soap operas, like the intrigue and the twists and interwoven text, narrative and stuff, I love, but they were just too slow moving for me. So I was like, this is going to be like a compressed, action-packed soap opera, and also I really wanted the actors to deliver their performances in a more soap opera styled way. I mean, I know soap operas, they're really under these strict schedules, so a lot of times the actors are like learning the scripts the day they're shooting, and so I really wanted the actors to almost like have a less dramatic actory feel and more of a like, just like you're on TV, you're in a soap opera, make it entertaining, make it sort of cheesy. I mean, especially like the Holly character, she did such a good job with bringing the cheese up a little bit and making it feel almost like, I don't know, like an after-school special or something like that. I really wanted to give it a really off-kilter edge, just grabbing like weird different things from TV,
So I was going to go back to that question about as sort of Giant Robot grew and its influence sort of like expanded. I mean, we're very much, I think, living in the, I think Giant Robot is one of the themes from last night and the whole series is just sort of blew open the whole sort of like idea of Asian American culture but alternative Asian American culture. And what Giant Robot was like highlighting is now everywhere, or it feels everywhere. It's not that everything's perfect and there's still challenges. So I'm curious now in retrospect, how you could, how you see yourself in that larger sort of like, the larger awareness of Asian American culture and the challenges you still see today for, say, young Asian filmmakers who want to sort of do the punk rock thing.
Wow, that's a deep one. Why don't you take that, Eric? No.
Well, I mean, you could both feed into it. I mean,
well,
I think for me, it's DIY still. Just do it yourself. I mean, John's like a great example of that, especially with the earlier movies, your earlier films that are like, some of them are shorts, and those are like so DIY. But then this version that's like got the biggest budget, it still has that in there to me, even though you've had to spend all that money and whatnot. It still has the same aesthetic, to its core. It's still in there. And but I think that's kind of part of it, is just DIY. Follow your vision,
Yeah, I don't know. There's a moment with Giant Robot. I would say maybe the late '90s, maybe '97, where I woke up one morning and it hit me. It was really huge and profound. I had never felt this before in my life, but I woke up. I had my Giant Robot magazines lying around, and I actually woke up and I said, "Wow. Right now, it's really cool to be Asian or Asian American." And I was like, this has never happened before for me or maybe the world. And I was like, Giant Robot actually made the world appreciate this stuff and curious about it and hungry for it. And I thought that was really, really rad because I grew up in pretty sick times with pretty sick anti-Asian stuff going on, like on NBC and ABC and stuff like that. But yeah, it was a cool moment where I was sort of like, yeah, things can get bad, things can get good, but it was almost like when Nirvana broke. It was a moment where, you know, things can go back to bad, but it's a milestone moment where, you know, the underground, the independent suddenly burst out. I thought that was a beautiful moment when Nirvana burst out. And same with Giant Robot. It's these moments, I think, that society changes, the world changes, and people sort of hold on to it and remember it. And even if things get fucked up again, we can always use these as reference points. And, you know,
This is a very needed reference point tonight, this weekend.
But I'm glad you say
kind
it
of
got, you know, like it gets fucked up again, because that's what I always think. I'm like, oh yeah, we were good for a minute, and then it gets fucked up again. Like that part, that's really important to remember, the fucked up part. So.
But I think with a reference point, even when it gets fucked up, you can be like, wow, remember the good old days in '97 when it was cool to be Asian? Oh my God, we can try to redo that again, but at least it existed. So, you know, there's something to go back to instead of, you know, there's no antecedent, there's nothing, there's no structure there. Which is why it's so great that Giant Robot existed and really shook things up, and I think created like a cool plateau to be Asian on. And, you know, we can go up, it's really great, but before, I honestly feel before Giant Robot, there was not a cool plateau to be on, and that's why I got into punk rock. I was like, man, I'm really good at math, got double 800, you know, GREs and shit like that on the math section for real.
Did?
Yeah, my mom, she bet me. She was like, I was in college, and she was like, you should go to law school and, you know, get paid to talk. And I was like, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to make movies. And she was like, well, if you took the GRE, you'd probably like crash and burn. There's no way you would do well. And I was like, I'll bet you $100 I can do really well with that training or whatever. And I did really well, and so she owed me $100.
I too was good at math.
Yeah.
Surprisingly.
We have another question from the audience anywhere? Let's see. Oh, right here in the middle. Let's bring a mic. It's coming from this side over here. Sorry about the lights. It's a little intense.
Great film. Thank you so much for sharing it with us.
Thank you so much.
So I guess I have a question for you about, like, as I get older, I'm always thinking about, like, how do I stay true to, like, who I was when I was younger and that
you don't want to lose a child, right?
What was that?
You don't want to lose a child.
Right. And I guess like the excitement for life and the grittiness and stuff. So I guess I'm wondering, for both of you, how do you sort of keep it fresh as you get older, like channel that part of like the sort of stuff you guys were making when you were younger and like, you know.
Luckily, I don't make the magazine anymore.
Yeah.
So
But,
there
like,
is
in
that.
other stuff
There is
you
that,
do,
but
too.
I kind of think I'm gonna make something. Like I'm gonna make a publication of some sort. Like I've been thinking about it like almost every day for the last 2 months. But and I think it's only gonna be better. I hate to say, like it's not gonna get worse. It's totally gonna be better than it was then. That's my opinion too. So I don't know. For me, I just think I'm just always looking at things. I work with a lot of young artists as it is, so I'm always seeing a lot of things that are new, fresh, and interesting. I mean, there's certain parts where my age will show. Like I'm just going to straight up be like, no, I don't want to do that. I'm too lazy. You know, I'm too old, right? But at the same time, I think that there's other things that I do see as an older dude. I'll see other things that I think are interesting that I wouldn't have seen as a kid. So I think it works both ways too.
I think you to stay young or keep the spirit, you've got to find something in life you really, for real, love and you want to do, like a passion. And for me, it was movie making. So, you know, that's been really cool. And also be prepared for this passion to change. Like at a certain point, you might be like, my passion has changed. I don't have a new one. I've got to find one. I think that's part of the key to hanging on to stuff. I think also the fact that you're questioning, how old are you?
24.
Oh, okay, cool. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but I'm just trying to gather it all up.
Sure,
I'm so sorry.
No, that's okay.
I think just the fact that you're this young and you're asking this question means you're going to be okay. Honestly, like I wasn't questioning when I was 24. I was just like, I want to get famous, make some money, make some cool ass movies. Yeah, I was not like this generation is so magically deep. I mean, some of the thoughts you have, you 20-year-olds out there, I'm like maybe in 5 years I'll have that thought. I'm serious. The fact that you're this age and you're like, man, I want to hold on to my youth and have a good life and hold on to this energy and the spirit, you're there. You're going to be fine. Honestly, I believe that, okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I mean, the question wasn't directed to me, but for me, it's like, John, exactly what you said. Like, for me, it's like the only way to stay young, or at least maintain that fear, is to roll with the change. And if you try and go back and recapture what you did at the beginning because it was so cool, that's when you're going to be the oldest. That's when you're going to seem the oldest and the most out of touch. It's just rolling with that change. So
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like what Eric was saying. It's like a lot of times in the world, when you find success at something you do, you're supposed to continue it until you die. I mean, really, I know filmmakers who have come up with a hit movie and then their next 10 movies, they sort of have to mimic that hit movie. Just they put the pressure on themselves. The studios put pressures on them. They have to make money, blah, blah, blah. And that's dangerous. So just like Eric being, I have this very successful magazine, this publication, it's over. I'm going to figure out something new now. I mean, that's healthy. That keeps you young. That really does.
Yeah, just reinventing, but also just keep on going,
Yeah.
and you'll find it. I
Another
started
question.
at 25, so you're 24. I started at 25. So
Time to start your empire, for real.
Yeah.
Like, whatever it is, like, get your words and thoughts out and just rock, for real. You can do it. You will. I know you will.
another question over here.
Hi, I'm a student at Cal Arts, and I had multiple classmates tell me to check out your work because they knew that I would fall in love with your work. And now I have your filmography, and I'm just totally obsessed and making a film very inspired by you.
Right
Who
on.
were some of your biggest influences?
Man, it's funny. I mean, I have a couple of filmic influences, but I'm really not much of a movie lover or fan. It's crazy. I haven't seen like a movie in like 5 months now. It's crazy. For real. I've just been watching Alaska. What is it? Alaskan Bush Family. I don't even know. I got sucked into that shit. But as far as my influences, I've been influenced by a lot of weird literature. I love writing, like French new novelists and weird shit like that. And music. Music was what kicked my ass into gear. I mean, when I discovered punk rock music and hardcore music in high school, the music itself had so much passion and raw intensity. It just blew me away. It was sort of like what you lack in precision and equipment and production, you more than make up with just the attitude and this passion to express. So music has been my biggest influence. And then when I started making movies and started getting my production company started, I sort of modeled it all after all these small like independent record labels like Discord and SST and Touch and Go, whatnot. And I sort of looked at my movies as being almost like rock and roll. I decided early on to put a lot of bands in my soundtracks because I figured that I could use the bands and their names to help sell the movie because the actors, no one knows them. So if I get a really cool band that the world knows, that'll help sell the movie. So I treated the bands like the stars of the movies. But yeah, music has been my biggest influence. Not only the sounds, but just how a lot of these like punk rock small labels have gotten their music out to the world on their own terms really cheaply and economically. Like that, that's what I've tried to mimic with my filmmaking, how to self-distribute, how to get stuff into theaters without dealing with the bullshit of middle people who are going to take away most of the money,
Thank you.
John made me a mixtape. You remember?
No, I don't.
Oh. So it's like I think you mailed it to me, and it was a mixtape of bands from New York. So I think you wrote in pen, and it was really. It says New York City trash, and basically basically he's senpai here, right? And senpai made me a mixtape, and I was like, notice me, right? And he did, right? So he mails me a mixtape, and it's a tape that I listened to a lot, and it had like all these bands that I didn't know, like Dust Devils, Cop Shoot Cop. I mean, there are all these New York bands that were like Lower East Side, kind of punk rock, kind of like grindy, really arty, grindy music. And I didn't know of it, and he sent me this tape that had it all on there. But I remember that's just eye-opening, and I knew that, he's really into music.
Yeah, I mean, I there's such an immediacy to it, and I play in a band and do some music, but it's really an antidote to filmmaking. So if any of you are filmmakers, like, do music. I mean, you can, it might take you 3 years to finish your movie, but you can write and record a song in one afternoon. So it really is like you're slaving away, you're grueling away on that movie, and you can just take a little break and actually have a mini project you can actually complete. It keeps you sane, and then you can go back to the movie.
So I got to wrap up. I have one more question because I meant to ask this earlier, but I feel like I have to ask it so that he gets his due. The actor who in the bed who played the grandfather, can you give us a little detail on
Lenny
him?
Lang. All right, so that dude was actually a huge actor in China. Huge, like he was one of the imperial court actors, like big deal. And so we were looking for like an Asian American to be grandpa in the bed, and it's like a thankless role, like characters sort of in a coma, so you're sort of lying there. On the other hand, it's a really easy role of SAG, so he got paid like $250 a day to do that, and free food. But long story short, he first jumped to the project like, wow, this, and he was really into his like imperial acting and his acting chops as, entertaining in the court in China and stuff. And so he was really gung-ho about the movie, but after the first day of shooting, he was starting to hate it, and he hated the production. I wrote him a line where actually at the end of the movie, the grandpa shakes himself out of the coma, sits up and says like, I'm hungry, I need a cheeseburger. And that's how I wanted to end the whole thing. And we tried it, and it did not work. So we got rid of the footage, and so he was really bummed out because that was his one speaking line, and I cut it out of the movie. But Eric was saying that you saw him like a ton of the screenings or something. Or no, that was Ken Narasaki. Yeah, the grandpa.
But you mentioned in the interview in Giant Robot that he hated the movie.
Yeah, but he came to the premiere, and then he hated it. But then there's another screening like a week later, and I was like, but he showed up again. He was like really dressed up in his his outfit, and he did that a few times. So I mean, I guess he hated the movie but wanted to get the fame or something. I don't know, but yeah, it was. I don't like it when actors are uncomfortable, and he was really uncomfortable on the set, and he was the only person who stepped forward as an actor who would do the role. So.
But now he's a punk rock icon. So yeah. Jon, it's such an honor to have you on stage here. Thank you so much.
You're
Eric,
welcome,
thank
everybody.
you so much.
Thank you. I love you, LA. And seriously, I'm all on the internet. Seriously, if anyone like filmmakers or people out there, you just have a question or you're making a movie and you hit a problem, just seriously email me. I will answer. I used to teach and profess film shit in colleges, and I don't do that anymore, but I miss the students and the connection. So, I'm out there. I really am out there, okay?
Where can we find your email?
JonMoritsugu.com. And then you go there, hit contact, and you're talking to me. Yeah, the website needs some updating, but just try to ignore that.
Thank you so much, Jon.
Yeah,
Really
hey, thanks,
appreciate it.
everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.